But personally, I came to vent against the reckless, illiterate, shameless elements within the Nigerian police who assaulted our colleague yesterday in Port Harcourt. He was doing his job, covering the protest for whatever reason that the police gave, started shooting tear gas or firing tear gas, as it may, in Port Harcourt. I'm talking about Charles Opurum. And he had to, you know, take a position to capture. That's what our work is, capture what was going on. And a policeman walked up to him because I interviewed him yesterday, spoke to him on TV. And literally started assaulting, asking him questions that, who are you? He showed his ID card, I'm a journalist, I'm doing my work, blah, blah, blah. One thing led to the other, slapped this, dragged him into a bus, tried to drag him into a bus, he refused, put me in a police van, he finally put him in the police van. Then some other policemen who, because he's also a security correspondent, some other police who recognized, say, what's going on, what are you doing here? You know, I explained, they said, okay, what happened? He told them, did any other thing happen? They started apologizing to him. I've always known that one of the problems we have with the Nigerian police force is the threshold of employment. We have great policemen, so these are bad elements within the police force. The level of illiteracy within the police. So when a policeman looks at you and says, you should not, why are you here? The protest, this, that, as though it is not your work to cover the protest. In fact, he was telling me that part of what he told the protesters was like, so you have spoken to the press, why don't you go and back off and all of that? And so many unconstitutional statements. The man was doing his work, you met him, he explained himself to you, you still went ahead and said, you people should not be protesting now, blah, 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 and then you assaulted him, slapped him. Doesn't make sense. So I had to put it up on my Twitter page, X now, and then, what do they call that thing? Is it mentioned, Kayode?
Yeah.
Police and Muyo Adejobi, so that you can go and fish out. In fact, I'm looking for that policeman's name. The day I told Charles, find that man. We're going to mention his name. I'm going to make sure he's reprimanded. If possible, he's going to be fired because it's a bad representation of the Nigerian police force. What kind of overzealousness? When I was correspondent in Port Harcourt, similar thing almost happened when we were doing the NSAS.
That was not being overzealous, Jeffrey. That was just being unprofessional.
And
outright.
Me, I call him illiterate.
Unprofessional. I mean, overzealous can be, you still do your job, right, but doing it extreme. But this is not what the police should stand for. And we have our correspondent, Charles Opurum, joining us on the program this morning. Charles, I imagine you're still trying to recover from the trauma from what you went through yesterday. As a journalist, doing your lawful job, you were assaulted. I mean, talk us through what exactly happened yesterday, Charles. It's really sad to see that in a democracy, this is happening.
Yeah, good morning, Kayode. I mean, these are some of the hazards of the job, right? So I am back where it all happened yesterday. So if you look behind me, this is a TFC flyover where mayhem and bedlam was let loose, you know. And that incident occurred here, just like I explained yesterday. The protesters were marching from Isaac Borough Park, which is in that direction. And by the time they got to this flyover, the police reinforced. It wasn't just the police, actually. It was like a full convoy of security vehicles. I could see vehicles from NNS Pathfinder, that's the Navy, the Army, the Civil Defense. They were all in a convoy, so to speak. And they intercepted the protesters. In fact, it may interest you to know that the protesters were just about, say, maybe 20, 25 people, but the security operatives were 5 times that number. So it was almost like using a mallet, a hammer, to swat a fly. And it occurred here. Now, when they started firing tear gas canisters, I came down from the vehicle where I was because I was driving behind the protesters and tried to get some shots of what was happening. The cameraman who was working with me was trying to park his vehicle in this direction where the Catholic Church is. It's off the camera shot now. And one of the policemen, the one who attacked me,
We'll try to reconnect with Charles Opurum, recounting his ordeal yesterday. And this, yet again, is just to speak to the leadership of the Nigerian Police Force, the Inspector General, the spokesperson, that a journalist doing his lawful job was attacked, assaulted in the most unprofessional manner by a police officer who's meant to protect and to serve. What Charles got yesterday was not protection, it was attack. And I know we've experienced this in different facets during our jobs, and it just leaves a bad taste in the mouth.
Very sour taste in the mouth, Kayode. And what the police officer may be ignorant of is that an injustice to one is an injustice to all. What every gentleman of the press and every protester was doing there yesterday was a fight in the cause and course of our democratic journey, which has a very huge question mark on it, as it is right now, with clampdown on protesters. And I'm quite curious, about Charles's experience yesterday. Charles, I'd like to know if you were able to catch the name, on the tag of that particular policeman who assaulted you. And you might just continue with sharing your encounter yesterday. Charles.
Well, the connection is not the friendliest this morning. But this is an issue that we have to raise. It's not just for us. Imagine if a journalist is assaulted this way. I had reports of a similar incident in the nation's capital as well. So if a journalist is assaulted this way, what happens to other Nigerians, really? So we must, it's essentially one for all for one. So if anybody is treated in the wrongest of ways, we must call it out. So to the IGP yet again, that this must be dealt with appropriately. This must not be swept under the carpet.
Absolutely. I think what got me was not just the assaults and all of that. That is, on one hand, that he identified himself. Okay, there's a possibility if there is a crowd, you rain on people, you don't know who they are, even though that is inexcusable. But that he identified himself and he still did what you did to him. We must find that policeman, as far as I am concerned. Charles, if you can just complete your thoughts.
Yes, so as I was saying, sorry, just to tie back to what Jeff was saying. Indeed, when we come for assignments like this, I always have my ID card hanging by my belt case. So this is it. It's always with me all the time. So if anybody says, who are you? I just easily bring it out and show this is my ID card. And I did that with a policeman yesterday. Now, like I was saying before, I had the network issue. Somebody was filming from up here. A cameraman from another TV station was filming from up there, the whole incident that was going on. The policeman chased him up there, confiscated his camera, and forced him to delete everything he had filmed. This happened yesterday. So it's not even as though I was the only victim. It's just because I was physically assaulted and beaten up. But then there were other journalists who were harassed in the line of duty. So this occurred here. And the statement that was released by the police PRO, when I saw the statement yesterday, I was so embarrassed because she basically has referred to us who were here as miscreants who were involved in snatching of phones. That is basically a summary of the statement that SP Grace Eringe-Koko released yesterday when she was asked questions about the conduct of their officers during the protest yesterday. Jeff.
Oh boy, okay. Thank you, Charles. I'll keep an eye on that. It's a shame that even the police PRO joined in the lies. And what she owes us, I think Grace Iroko. Grace, I know one of her name is Grace. She has to answer to this. There's no point lying. So you must correct what you've done. You must say the truth. That policeman must be found, because we're going to keep escalating this. We're not going to take it lightly. We are doing our job. Section 22 of the Constitution empowers us to do our job. You can't intimidate us. You cannot harass us. It is not a possibility. We're running a constitutional democracy, and this is totally unacceptable. Guys.